What's up everybody, this is KJames Online Gamer here. Today I'm going to be bringing you a video on how to take apart a computer. Before we can actually start taking the computer apart, we need to go over a few tools in preparation. First off, screwdrivers. Your computer will consist of a lot of screws and a lot of different sizes. Normally it's going to be Phillips, but sometimes you can have other ones which this one does not, so I won't be using them. First off, I have a magnetic Phillips screwdriver for smaller screws. And my other screwdriver is a multi-purpose for other bits, but I only have a Phillips in at the moment, and it's also magnetic for the bigger screws. Now, when you take the screws out, you're going to want somewhere to put them so they don't get lost. For that, I have a little cup that I actually have some spare ones in there at the moment right now. But for your first-time users, you're going to want to have a couple different cups for the different types of screws, and maybe wouldn't even help to have one for each individual part, even though some parts all involve the same screws. Because you don't want to get everyone mixed up if you don't know where they go. It'll eventually get it, but you'll eventually get it figured out, but it wouldn't hurt. It's not a bad idea. Next, we have a wire cutter. On the wire cutter here, it is basically it can help you with cutting simple wires if you're not going to actually want the computer to be fixed. You're just going to part it and sell the parts. The ones that are broken you can cut the wires on. It's not a bad idea to have. Next off, we have a tweezers, or a simple little grabber we can grab things. And this will really help you get into those little nooks and crannies that computer has a lot of. When screws fall in there or other things you need to get out before you can take out certain parts. This will really help with that a lot. Next, we have a big lamp that will help us see inside the computer. And it turns on, and as you can see, it's really bright. This is my favorite. This is definitely like the perfect lamp for me to get inside computers because it's long and everything, but I don't want to go over why I use it, but it's a good lamp. Clip-on lamps are also good because you can just clip it right onto the side of your case and boom, you can put it in. But this one works too. And lastly, we have a flashlight. Although we have a very nice lamp to illuminate our project, sometimes there are still spots we can't see, so that's why we need a flashlight, and we can angle it down at it. And for this, I have a nice blue LED flashlight. So as you can see, these are all of our parts or all of our tools in preparation that we will need for the computer. Now the next step is to preparize your actual computer to get torn apart. So as you can see, the computer is on and functioning, and there's a light coming from the power button. So basically, first thing you want to do, turn off your computer. Now that the computer is off, we can actually get involved in taking some wires out. So I will turn this, and normally you'll have a lot more wires, but I don't have a monitor, keyboard, or a mouse set up to this thing. But then I normally first take out the power cable that connects to the power supply, and then turn off the power supply for safety measures. This will help just to make sure. You never know what can happen. So that's just what I do. Next, you want to remove any other things like Wi-Fi adapters like this. This is about giving you internet signal, everything you want to be removed and take apart a computer. Now, turn it around. As you can see, I have a little flash drive sitting here. This also needs to be removed. So now, you simply pull it out, and that's that. So, now that we have everything taken out, you do not just want to go and start prying into your computer and try to get inside. That's not a good decision. Sometimes, you don't really have to have any of this thing up or not, but I like to have it up, just because. And I'll turn it back. And now, you can see this is the proper way to get into the computer from the back. You'll have your side panel, your front panel, and your other side panel. Your main side panel will always be on the left side, and this is the way you're going to this is the way you're going to have it facing when you take out your parts. So, to get into the computer, you can find, normally it's on the right side, and sometimes you can't always tell. So sometimes you have to take it off, sometimes you won't. But on this one, there's multiple ways you can tell that the right side here is the side to take it off. So first of all, you want to look for thumb screws, which can be removed with the thumb. And also this one has a handle, so obviously you can tell that this is the main one that needs to be taken off. So we can just unravel this, or unscrew it. Unscrew this very carefully because it's in there tight. Now before you actually take off the cover, very, very, very carefully set down the computer. And this thing is a heavy computer because it's old as heck and everything. But now we can actually remove the cover. And you just pull it off and open it up. And now you are inside your computer, as we can see. Okay, as you can see, we are inside the computer. So first off, you want to turn on the lamp, and you can illuminate projects. So first of all, I'm going to go over like the individual parts. This is your power supply. This is what supplies power the computer, as you can probably enter in the name. This is the graphics card. Ow, I just cut myself almost. This is the hard drive right over here. CD-ROM, disk drive, whatever you want to call it. These are your sticks of RAM. And obviously your motherboard is the big thing down here. And this is your processor, but your processor is actually a little chip underneath. But this is a cooler for the processor. And now that we are actually ready to go and take apart the computer, you always want to do this. Just move your hands on the side just to make sure there's no static electricity moving around in here. And we are ready to take apart the computer. So now that we're inside, I like to take off the front panel first before I do anything else more. I probably should have done that earlier, but I was too occupied with other stuff. But here we go. Now the front panel is off. We don't need that anymore, so that's over there. And everything is ready to be taken apart. So normally what I do when I start taking apart the computer is I start with the most delicate items, or the most things that get mainly in the way. So that's why I like to start with either the graphics card or something similar. I normally would actually start with the RAM, but if we have a good graphics card in here like this, or a decent one anyway, a bigger one I should say, because this is old, we have to, sometimes you can get in the way of taking it out, so that's why we need to take out the graphics card first. So if you see over here, we have to take out this screw. And that is that. I suppose I should open up my thing here. Without making it. Oh, sorry about this. Okay, there we got that. Okay. Oops. So that's in there. So now this is loose. We need to unplug it right here. And that's out. So now your graphics card is loose and ready to go. Except for one thing, which is right down here. We need to pull a little pin. Kind of move it around back and forth. Very carefully, not to break anything. And my table is moving, I'm sorry about that. And there we go. Our graphics card is loose and out, as you can see it here. I'm going to set that down carefully. And don't put your parts that you've taken out on like something like carpet or a couch or something like that. You want to put it on a surface with no static electricity running on it, because that can ruin your parts like very badly. So now that we have that out, we can move on to the RAM, just so they're out of the way. And the RAM is by far the most simple thing to take out. And by that, we just press the little clips and pull it out. The same thing for the other RAM stick. And pull it out. Oops. Don't do that. I'm sorry. So that's that, and that is out. As you can see, there are some big thick cables called ribbon cables in here. Your newer computers will not have these. They will have serial ATA cables, which look more so like this on the end. You can see it like that. This is a spare one that I have. I do like to take the disk drive out before I take out the power supply, just because it gets in the way. So I am going to unplug this from the disk drive without breaking it. And now that is loose, we can simply pull out the ribbon cable, which I have this thing cable managed pretty well. Me and my brother did that, and my brother is a cameraman, so that's good. And this thing is broken a little bit, but there will be a little latch you might have to redo on that. But I pull that out, and the disk drive is out of the way, and we don't need that anymore. So that is your disk drive, and that is gone. So now that we are inside here, or we have this taken care of, we can soon get the power supply out. But I always it's best to get these ribbon cables out of the way because they're thick and ugly. Just make sure you know exactly where they go to. Just keep them organized if you're not sure. But I just know. I have experience, and very carefully take these things out because they're delicate and everything. See, I'm at a bad angle, so I'm kind of just staring stuff apart right now. But I like to get the ribbon cables out of the way. So now we have that gone, and I'm going to take out the other ribbon cable just because I don't like it here. And I want it gone because it's ugly. This one is connecting to the hard drive. And that is that. So, this ends part 1 of the video. I will be back again to start removing the heavy duty parts. Although a graphics card is a heavy duty part, but I need to adjust the thing and stuff anyway. So we'll be back with part 2 in a little bit. Alright guys, welcome back to the second part of our 2 video tutorial on how to take apart a computer. Earlier you should have saw the first video. If you need help, go back and click on the link that will be in the description to the first video. So now, if you saw the first video, we took out the graphics card, we took out the RAM, a couple ribbon cables, and my disk drive. Before we can take out any other of the major parts, we need to first of all take off the second panel. That's really simple. You just take your screwdriver, or whichever one you need. That is most likely Phillips, because all these screws are the same. Unscrew it. Drop that in your cup. Unscrew the other one. Take that down, and this one you don't really need to turn it over, and you can just kind of push and snap that off, and that is out of the way. And as you can see, I have cables running back here. That's because this thing is cable managed very well, because I want it out of the way, some of the cables out of the way. So yeah, now we can actually get into the rest of taking apart the rest of the computer. Alright, next we are going to take out the hard drive. So, to take out the hard drive, first of all you want to unplug it, your 4-pin Molex connector, which this one it's hard to get out. Just make sure you never damage your components when doing that. I have done that a lot. A lot of times when you're taking out the hard drive, it helps to turn it up like this. I just want to make a point, so that's why I'm going to move it like this. And right, as you can see, right around this area, I think, I can't really see that well, but there are little like notches, and you can see that the screws are in. So to take out the hard drive, you need to just carefully lift up on those notches, and you have it out. And some of your newer computers will have like a base instead of something like this. It'll basically just be a bunch of trays anyway. But as that, it's really kind of self-explanatory because you would just unlatch it. Very similar to what this is here. So, next we are going to be taking out some other parts like the motherboard. So, let's get started on. Alright, next thing we have to do is take out this little port thing here. This is basically a little circuit board, and that's the same thing we take out the same way we take out the graphics card. We just let that thing fly. Get it out of there. Oh shit. Okay, so this is where your tweezers will come in handy. As you can see, it pinned right in between a heatsink and one of my PCI slots, but as you can see, there it is. Easily got it out with that. So now that that's out, it's nice, and this thing is super easy to take out. You basically just pull up on it very carefully with without damaging it, and there it pops out. And we'll set that over here. So that's that. We might as well just get away these things and get these things out of the way now, since we're at this right angle. We can just take out all of these. These are little ports for some ports and other things like the power button. I was trying to think of the right word. But these things are really easy. Just try not to damage them when you take them out, because that can happen. Because these things are fragile as heck. But on the newer computers, you'll basically just have like one little small like area, kind of like a box where these will all be in. So it'll be a little bit different. It's just, but since this thing is older, that's just the way it is. You just want to make sure you're very careful when you take out these things, because otherwise stupidity can bite you in the butt. So now that we got those things out, I'm just going to kind of throw them over the side like that. And these things are kind of cable managed, so I'm going to leave those there. But now we can take out this exhaust fan here, since that's next on the list. Before I actually undo the screws, just unplug it from the motherboard. And what am I doing? Okay, anyway, the screws are on the back side here. Whoops. The screws are on the back side. And I just cut a hole in this little table. Not that I really care. But these are the screws to take out your exhaust fan. These screws are actually a little bit different than the other screws. That's why I was talking about the fan screws. They're a little bit more heavy duty, I should say. And this sucker is in there. But this is how you unscrew these things, and I'll get this thing as soon as I get the screw out. I'll do the rest off camera, so you can actually see that. This is really boring, so now I'm starting to get it out. That's okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna do the rest of these off camera. Okay, so it's actually really easy just to unscrew them. For one, I was at a bad angle, and you can put a little bit of pressure on the fan, and then just unscrew them like that. But yeah, and then it just comes right out very easily. But this is the fan here, simple exhaust fan, and I will put that away. And this is the bigger, heavier duty screws that I was talking about. I will compare them to one of the other standard ones that you will see. So this is your heavier duty screw right here. And you can compare that to one of these. So that's the difference right there between those. But now that that is out of the way, that's really simple. So next we need to take out the power supply. Well, first actually I'm just going to get rid of this ribbon cable here. So I'm going to turn my computer off like this, you can see. But right down here is where all your ribbon cables or serial ATA cables will all be down in a little box down in the bottom right corner from our angle here. And the ribbon cables will kind of be different, but you can just kind of pull them out like that, and I'll just set that over there. And now I can shove this thing out of here since it's done anyway. But anyway, there's that fat guy. And now we're going to remove the power supply, as that is next on our list. So before we remove the power supply, we need to make sure all the things that are connected to the power supply are unplugged from other components so we don't damage them. So I like to start with the CPU, which is right here. Whoops. Sorry. And all you got to do is simply just find a little notch, push it in, and lift it up. And that's out. I can just put this over here, just so I know everything is there. This right here is your SATA cables. I just have those tucked in a little spot where there was another disk drive at one point, just because I did not need it. Now we need to take out the motherboard pin. But first I'll just take out this little one for the power button. You can see it's right here. There'll be a bunch of different ones like this, but this one is really hard to take out, so I'm just going to have to set it down and pull it out. Because this guy never wants to come out. Dang this thing. Okay, it's almost out. There we go. Okay, so that's that. Your newer cables probably won't be this hard to take apart or take out because they're more newer designed, I guess you could say. I'm just putting up these pins because I want to. And now we need to get rid of the motherboard one. What is this going to do? Okay, I'll figure that out here. Anyway, the motherboard is the huge, massive 24-pin ATX connector right here. And this thing takes a little force, but there's a little bit of pin. You push that in and just pull it out. So now we can just reroute that around the back, as you can see right here. I had that routed through the back to make a little bit more space for cables. And something in here is not really doing what I want it to do. Oh, yeah, this is this cable. Okay, that was for our disk drive. A lot of clanking. This is actually a really heavy duty case. Okay, oops, I just pressed record. So now that all your cables are out of the way, just let me shove this through there very carefully. You don't want to damage your parts. We can very carefully shove that through. Now we have all the parts out. So we have all of the parts disconnected, or your power supply is disconnected from all of the parts. And you can see here. So the next step is to actually remove the power supply, and it is basically put in by little screws. And I just want to point that out that not every single time will your power supply be on the top. Sometimes it's on the bottom, and I've even seen some crazy rigs where it's in the middle. And it's like on like some of those bigger towers. It's been like kind of in a weird spot with the motherboard right next to it, and then some other space. I guess that's what I call the middle. But yeah, so now we can actually take out the power supply. So I only have 3 screws in because this power supply is actually a different one that was originally in this build, because it was, or I shouldn't say build, this is a store-bought computer, but it went bad on it, so I had to replace it with a different one. Thank God Ben, nice guy, had an extra one on, or I had to spend a little bit of money because he has like 100 of them. Anyway, so that's the story why I only have 3 screws in there, because otherwise it won't fit. But it's really easy to take it out. You just unscrew the screw, drop the screws in your little pin. There's 2 of them on. And you can see it's already a little bit looser. Now it's starting to come out. So now that we have all the pins out, we can carefully push the power supply out. And there, the power supply is now out of the computer, and we have time to take out the motherboard. So have that out of the way. Now I am not going to remove the cooler on the motherboard because it's a pain in the butt to take on and off. So I'm not going to do that because it takes forever. Like, it really, I sat there for an hour trying to take it off. But if you actually need to get to it, it's really simple to take. But this one is like I'm not kidding, just takes forever to get off. But this is a Pentium 4, so you lift up on these handles and gently pry it off. And there's like some other clips you have to take out anyway. But now, before we remove the motherboard, we have to make sure the motherboard is removed from all other components. There's nothing else connected to it, and that's that. Like right here, you do not have to take this off if you're going to take the motherboard out, but I would guess it doesn't really hurt. If you're going to take off the CPU cooler, you're going to have to do that because that's just how it is. So now that the motherboard is disconnected from everything, now it's time to unscrew this bad boy. So I will shift it like this, I guess, and we can get ready to actually take out the screws. Sorry about all this moving here, but that's just the way it has to be. You'll have normally right around 8 screws, I think, to take out. of the motherboard. I don't know the exact number, but this is a smaller one. Some of your bigger ones have other numbers. But you'll have various screws around your motherboard to take out. One down. Okay, that's not one. Here we go. And there's that one. There's also one down here. And I'm going to do the rest of them off camera. I just wanted to show you a few of them. And I'll point out where all the screws are. But it's kind of time consuming. So I'll be back in a sec when I have all these out. Alright. Now that we have every single screw taken out of the motherboard, it is safe to remove it. But sometimes you will have something like this on the back. You'll have something like this on the back of the motherboard, just protecting it, because if a graphics card is already put in the thing, then they'll want you to cover up so you don't plug in your thing to you plug in your monitor to the graphics card. But that will just be right on the back. It's really not anything of a big deal. But now I will get to the point. I'm pointing at all the little screws. There's one there, one there, one there. There's one there, one there, one there. And there's a couple other ones around there. But all of them are taken out, and it's really easy to take all the screws, obviously. But now we get to the most careful. You want to do this the most carefully out of everything you ever do when you take apart a computer. First thing I do is lift it up like this. Unconnect the I/O panel over here. And a lot of times I like to have the CPU cooler off because I can use it as a good grip. And then you carefully lift it up and out. And you carefully remove the motherboard. So now our computer is completely disassembled, except for a few other things that don't really matter. For example, like these, you don't really have to take those out because I'm not going to take them out because they're really a pain to get back in. I am going to reassemble this computer. So actually I'll just take this one out. And those cables are out of the way. So now your computer is completely vulnerable to everything, like death. And yeah, that is how to take apart a computer. I did not take apart these because they're like welded into the, they're actually welded into the case. So I hope this video helped on how to and teach you how to take apart a computer. This is another K Games Online Gamer video, guys. I'll see you later, and bye.